Hello, hello, my name is Dove, and this is Timmy, and if you are new here, then welcome, and if you are returning, then welcome back, and also, we love you. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than anything I've done on the channel before, not because of what I'm doing is different, but rather that the topic is going to be vastly different, because full disclosure, up until this point, I have never in my life actually cared about superheroes very much. And it's not for any particular reason other than it just was never my genre, right? I've seen quite a bit of superhero media. I've seen plenty of Marvel movies, especially during what I think most people would consider the Marvel golden age of the early to mid 2010s. But I wasn't invested in them, and I think I got the superhero fatigue that general audiences have been feeling about Marvel since probably Endgame, I guess. But I feel like I got that fatigue a few years before that. But this video is not about the many times that I have failed to emotionally and thematically connect with superheroes. It's about the very first time that I have in theaters this summer. Fair warning, this video will have all the spoilers for Superman 2025. This is not going to be a deep dive into superheroes or Superman lore or anything, because I will be the first person to tell you that I don't know shit. What this video is going to be is an impassioned rant about the brilliance of specifically James Gunn's Superman from a cultural geography perspective, because I'm going to put that cultural geography spin on everything. And then also, I guess, Superman as a character that I've come to know since seeing James Gunn's Superman. Which, by the way, today is August 30th. That was, a month ago. I'm pretty sure I saw it on July 30th. I had no interest in seeing this movie at all until I started seeing really thoughtful reviews from people whose tastes I already trust, who were, singing its praises. And suddenly my interest was piqued. So I saw the movie with a friend who also doesn't really know anything about superheroes, liked it well enough, but then I have the Regal Unlimited pass, so I decided to just go see it again. Loved it the second time. And then because it's free, I've since seen it 3 more times, which means that it has officially overtaken the 4 times that I saw 1917 in theaters, and it has tied it with La La Land as the movie I saw in theaters the most number of times. 5 times, you guys. I recently made it a point that every time I'm writing a script and I go to write in a joke about who should be sponsoring the video, I actually just reach out to the company about it. And Regal Unlimited, I haven't heard back from you guys, but you should be sponsoring this video because I've been doing advertising for you for free for years. I'm doing it again right now. I would go to war for you, even if it meant that I had to personally fight Nicole Kidman in a back alley. I think in a fair fight, she'd have me. But if we fought dirty, I think I could hold my ground. It's just a damn good movie, okay? And because I personally can't like anything a normal amount, in the month since, I have consumed an inordinate amount of Superman content, including but not limited to the first 2 Christopher Reeve movies, the original animated series from the 90s, about most of the first season of Smallville, and also an excellent show that they should also be paying me to sponsor. This one's on you, HBO. My Adventures with Superman, which season 3 is currently in post-production. It's on HBO. Jack Quaid voices Superman, which is really funny because whenever people think about Jack Quaid, I'll watch people watch reactions of the Hunger Games movies, and they're like, oh my god, is that Jack Quaid? Because he played Marvel in the original, in the first Hunger Games movie, and it was one of his first acting credits. And so I always think of him from that, and then again, he was in a really great rom-com with the woman who plays Maya from Pen 1-5 called Plus One. Great rom-com, highly recommend. But anyway, he voices Superman, and the animation style is Cowboy Bebop, and it's a really great show, and it has a heavy focus on Lois and Clark, very much peak their relationship, being flirty, being fun, on top of all of the other stuff that's going on. Love the depiction of Jimmy in that. Seriously, please watch the show, because season 3 is going to be coming out in the next probably few months. I don't know. Reddit says maybe October, November. And I'm going to be watching it. And I want to be able to talk to you guys about it. So your homework after this video is to go watch that and then talk to me about it because nobody else is interested. Hello, it is me again on a different day. I have been attempting to upload this video and get past the copyright gods for a couple days now, and in that time I realized I have more to say actually. So I'm going to pop up a couple times throughout this with clarifying statements where I thought I didn't explain well, and I'm also going to give you a more thorough review of Superman 1 versus Superman 2 because I feel like I made it sound like I didn't enjoy the first one that much when that is not the case at all. So I'm just going to add that on at the end. But like I was saying, I actually can't like anything a normal amount. And over the past few weeks, I've accidentally become a 6-year-old boy who's obsessed with Superman. So much so that, yeah, I did make some postcards about it and how kindness is the real punk rock, which I also have a sticker version of that's currently in the mail and not here yet. The stickers have since come. They are a mirrored matte, and the mirrored is on like the little outline part. Kindness is punk rock, so fun. And also, I made a zine about some of my favorite punk rockers, other kind people in media and in life. And I did, please focus, oh my god, please focus. There we go. And I printed it on Superman colored paper, which I think is really fun. And it's just a bunch of illustrations of like other people who are really other people and other characters who are just like really kind. And this is the first time I've done like a comic book type style of illustration. So that was like oh my god, please focus. That was like a fun challenge as well. You know what else I did? I bought a big stack of comic books for the very first time. I've never bought a comic book before. I have like 12 of them now. Did I face them off cover alone? Yeah, duh. Like, look at this. Okay, Superman saves a train. Love it. Okay, Superman fights the weather in unnatural disasters. Superman versus climate change. Who do we think wins? This one had, he's holding a woman in a wheelchair. I was like, sounds interesting. I read this comic. Nothing could have prepared me for the plot of this. It was hilarious. And then look at this, guys. Not one, but 2 different comics of Superman holding a kitten on the front. Yeah. I will say, this one actually about the kitten. This one, nothing to do with it at all. It is apparently a selfie variant cover. There we go. And it's, again, him holding a kitten. On the bright side, I guess Superman does, in fact, have time for selfies. I truly feel like this movie could not have possibly come at a better time. This interpretation of Superman is the one that the world needed now more than ever. I know a lot of people love Man of Steel and like Nolan's Dark Knight and like the dark superhero genre in general, and I definitely see why that's the case when you compare it to like the naivety, I guess, of the genre's existing repertoire at the time, along with the desire to get like more gritty and more real with our beloved heroes. Man of Steel came out in 2013, and I did go and see it. I don't really remember much about it other than I know like it was the dark superhero genre. I know Superman is like very stoic in it, and I think that's why I didn't really connect with it. I was like, yeah, okay, another hero. I don't freaking know. But like, when it came out, we were only 1 year into the second Obama administration, right? Like, we were still hopeful for the future. We were recovering from the 2008 crash. We could handle it, right? We could handle like this darker theme. If that movie came out today, it would not have worked. It would not have found the success that it did. Right now, we don't need any more darkness to the world. We are inundated with the darkness of the world constantly. Literally every single time that we pick up our phone, which is also constantly. Movies are an escape and an opportunity for us to suspend disbelief and live in a different world. And if that's the case, why would I want my heroes, whose whole job it is to make the world a better place, not make the world a better place than it is in the actual world, you know? And one of my frustrations with the genre in its recent iterations, and the reason that I just haven't been able to connect with it, is the lack of like meaningful thematic content. Like all things in late stage capitalism, the Hollywood superhero genre has prioritized quantity over quality. As they say, IP is king in the movie world. But they've dumped so much money into continuously pumping out these sure bets as quickly as possible that they forgot why there was a dedicated fan base in the first place. Instead of focusing their energy in making meaningful and equally entertaining content, they figured that it was enough to just like stuff scripts full of "he's right behind me, isn't he?" type of jokes and like familiar faces and needle drops to dance around actually saying anything at all. The constant stream of output is meant for the widest possible appeal, and something designed for everyone is, at its core, nothing designed for no one. See also women's clothing. But the idea that you can dance around any type of discussion that even alludes to political ideologies in a genre that is literally dedicated and built on the investigation of good versus evil is why so many superhero movies fail to be anything more than mildly entertaining and easily forgettable to myself and many others. And it's also exactly why Superman is succeeding the way that it is. And that's something that I really admired about this movie. It wasn't afraid to say something. Yeah, there were a lot of people who really didn't like this version of Superman, and they're dedicated, like, Snyderverse people. Okay, that's fine. But like the voices of the people who are pissed off are significantly drowned out by larger groups of fans and the laughter that comes from jokes when they actually land. Now is the time more than ever to be saying something meaningful. Now is the time to be proselytizing kindness and empathy. Now is the time to remind people what having hope feels like and the contagious power that it can have. I would argue that Superman's greatest strength, his biggest superpower, is the fact that he inspires that type of kindness and empathy in others. He inspires other people to be better because that's what he strives to be. And I think, like, that's really what it comes down to. Like, honestly, I'm going to go really into it, but that's basically what this video boils down to, is Superman makes people want to be better. And that is the greatest strength that you could possibly have.
You trust everyone and think everyone you've ever met is like beautiful.
Maybe that's the real punk rock.
At its core, Superman is an immigrant story. It is. It just is. Place is more than just baked into his origin story. It's also the reason that he's a hero at all. So as a reminder, when we're talking about place, we're not just talking about space, right? So space is the physical location, okay? Place is the physical location and also all of the cultural nuances that make up the culture and experience of a space. Place is where things are and how they feel and what they look like and what you do. Clark is from a place that no longer exists and a place that he will never truly know. But on a genetic level, he was built to be there. Krypton has physically different conditions than Earth, and the humans living there were genetically adapted to suit them. Krypton orbited a red dwarf star as their sun, so the gravity on Krypton was 1.3 times that of Earth. Specific details vary, but the idea here is basically that on Earth, uninhibited by Krypton's physics, Superman is basically like a solar-powered super battery with a helium reserve. That's my that's my understanding of it. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's details. I'm sure some different branches explain it different ways depending on what piece of media you're watching. But basically, the power from the yellow sun, he's a solar super battery with a helium reserve. So on one hand, Superman is definitely like from Krypton, right? That's why he's able to do any of the things that he does that makes him Superman, right? But Clark Kent and then by extension, the character of Superman that he regularly plays is from Kansas. He's from the world of Smallville, and he has his secrets. So this is going to be like the first specific James Gunn movie shout out, call out, whatever. Oh my god, I love John and Martha. Holy shit, I love them so much. Oh, they're going to make John's death so painful and traumatic. And I'm not going to survive it. All the time that we get to spend with the Kents stands out as the warmest and most authentic moments in the movie to me. You can feel the love that this family has for each other radiating through the screen. Clark isn't an extraordinary person because of his powers. He's an extraordinary person because of his kindness, right? And his kindness came from the Kents, not from Krypton. I know some people were laughing about the fact that Clark had his bare feet out while he was eating cereal and talking with his dad, but in my opinion, this is actually a significant character and storytelling choice that I want to spotlight for a moment. My family is full of farmers, okay? My grandparents, aunts, uncles, all farmers. We weren't like farmers, but I did grow up on a farm. I've talked about it before. I was in 4-H. I had chickens and ducks and turkeys and all of that good stuff. We had goats, okay? They were pets, but like it was a farm. I had farm chores, right? And obviously on like real working farms, you're gonna need shoes to keep up with the job. You need steel toes if you're on the equipment side. You need rubber boots on the animal side. But going outside barefoot is just such a normal and accepted part of life, and it's also why I was so confused for a long time about who the hell is keeping shoes on in the house. Like, we hardly wear them outside unless we're going somewhere. On your home that is a farm, the ground isn't dirty in the same way that it is in the city. You're not looking out for like needles or trash. You're looking out for like stickers or the occasional rock or maybe some chicken poop. Which is, yeah, also dirty, but in a very different way. Your feet get really tough and like it's just fine. Like it doesn't I will say, living in the city for as long as I have now, my feet are so soft and weak and pathetic. It's kind of embarrassing. But it's good for us to feel the earth between our toes. I'm a big proponent of the fact that we need to remember we're literally animals, and like this is a whole soapbox I don't have time to go into, but I think part of the reason that so many of us are depressed and anxious and going insane, yes, it's capitalism, but it's also zoochosis. Like, guys, we're supposed to be outside looking at stuff. In Metropolis, Clark is constantly on guard. He's constantly putting on an act and never getting the chance to fully embody the person that sits between his two personas. But when he's at home with the people who know him best and love him most, he has the chance to literally and metaphorically take his boots off. He gets the chance to just be as Clark and let somebody else take care of him for once. And when he's off to fight again, there is Ma, ready to help him out, presenting him with the boots that she has already cleaned. Even if you didn't think too deeply about why Clark had his dogs out the way that I did, the scene that he has talking with his dad explicitly prompts us to ponder the central themes of the movie, which are, is being from a place who you are, or is living in a place who you are? What makes you you? Who are you going to choose to be? Another big aspect of this movie is, of course, the manufactured border crisis. Gotta hand it to them. They made this really politically relevant. They did such a good job in like making this a movie of today, and I mean that as a compliment. In James Gunn's Superman place is not just the setting, it's not even just the history, it's also like the main plot and the side plot and the socio-political commentary. The central physical conflict of this movie is based around, again, a manufactured border crisis and illegal land seizure. The country of Moravia, a historically U.S. ally with a well-funded military that is also being armed by U.S.-based equity, decides that actually it deserves to absorb the neighboring country of Jarhampur for reasons. Yeah, I think we're going to take over because for reasons, yeah. The reasons, of course, are rooted in resource extraction and greed as opposed to like moral ideologies. Though I guess you can make the argument that like greed is a moral ideology in this case. It's an unsound one though. But no, once Superman is out of the way dealing with his nanobites. Don't remember which one it is. Somebody will correct me in the comments. Let me know, is it nanobots or nanobites? But no, once Superman is out of the way dealing with that, Bravia once again rolls up to the border with a squadron of gunmen and tanks who are ready to fire at unarmed civilians prepared to fight for their home, knowing the cost and knowing that it's futile without outside help. And we have the image of the kid standing there with his Superman flag raised as, you know, the rest of the civilians are starting to retreat because the army is advancing. And we have a soldier cock his gun and aim at the child. I want to really emphasize this. This is a Hollywood blockbuster, summer blowout. Everybody and their mother is going to see this movie. And in it, they are showing a soldier that is being armed by US-based company, equity, whatever. It's not the US military, but I'm glad it's not, for the reason, again, that the military would have had to sign off on it. So having it be a private military that's still based in the US was good stuff. But that is a thing that they put in this movie explicitly. A soldier aiming and cocking a gun at a child. And that is a thing that is happening every single day in Palestine. And I've seen some people online try to use every single excuse they possibly can to weasel their way out of the obvious parallels. And the main argument I keep seeing these people go back to is the fact that James Gunn was writing this before October 7th. And he was initially like inspired thinking about the plot in relation to Russia invading Ukraine, which had recently begun. Okay, the script was written beforehand. But the whole movie was filmed well into it. The movie was filmed in 2024. It was filmed as it was happening. I feel like people forget that 99.8% of the things that are happening in movies were deliberate choices that were made by somebody, as opposed to just like, it just worked out that way. Like, you might get lucky with things like that every once in a while, you know, lightning strikes and something just turns out crazy and it never meant to happen, but it was a happy accident, all of that stuff. But those are the things that become fun facts. Like, they're so crazy and wild that they stand out because that's so uncommon. You know what I mean? Like, they're the whole, he broke his toe when he kicked that helmet. They're the very, very mild season 2 Severance spoilers. They're Adam Scott accidentally getting a concussion because he messed up a stunt, right? Like, when something that wasn't planned for happens, it gets talked about because everything is planned for. It is explicitly chosen, okay? As in, they were presented with options and they made a choice. If not by the director, then by the actors and producers. If not the actors and producers, then editors. If not the editors, then it was the set designers and the costume designers and the lighting techs and the production assistants and the script supervisors and you could keep going down the line forever. In fact, they literally do this at the end of every movie. It's called the closing credits. There are hundreds of people working to bring these movies to life, and the obvious parallels to Israel and Palestine didn't just appear from thin air on their own. And one of the arguments I've seen that I also think is dumb is somebody was saying, but it can't be because the aerial shots that we get of Hot Girl before she drops Netanyahu, what's his actual name? I forgot his actual name. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the architecture that we get in the aerial shots, it's Russian. It resembles Russian architecture. It's got like the spires and stuff. Counterpoint, it could be both. It could be referencing both. And in fact, it is referencing both. I mean, even down to like, okay, we can acknowledge, he started writing the script because he was thinking about Russia and Ukraine. So obviously, that's a piece of it. I'm not denying that. I'm saying that it's certainly gotten even more important to talk about since then, hasn't it? And the visual choices that were made in the movie resemble something just as pertinent I feel like people are picking and choosing the visual cues that they want to take as evidence and the ones that they want to ignore. Because sure, the aerial footage that we get of Moravia looks like Russia, okay? The flag looks like Israel. the flags look like Israel and Palestine. Literally, because, and I feel like they made a point in the movie too to really show Moravia's flag. Like, he's always wearing the pin. You got it hanging in the background during his press conference, like all of this stuff. Jahanpur's flag is striped with prominent green and red, and then yellow that sort of stands in for white. And Moravia's flag has blue stripes and a star and yellow standing in for white. And then you get to like the central narrative as opposed to the plot. I do think they are separate, not independent, but separate things. The central narrative conflict of this movie is about the value that immigrants bring and how people are being preyed on by idiots like Lex Luthor to turn against them despite the value that they've brought and continue to bring to their communities. The news segments that are included in this movie are, unfortunately, such a great reflection of the exact conversations that are happening on actual news stations every single day. Lex uses common conservative talking points that are used to sow fear into the citizens of Metropolis.
I'm scared. I will admit that I am scared, because who knows how large his secret harem is already.
He says things like, oh, he came here to destroy us and our way of life, and how Superman is grooming us into submission. When the public support for Superman is brought up during the Luthor Corps meeting at the Pentagon as a defense against potentially bad optics of bringing him down, Lex brings up that his support is waning, according to chatter online. The reveal later in the movie that he's commandeered an army of angry monkey bots to sow the division online is yet another on-the-nose example of how real-world conversations are being manipulated online every single day through bots. Literally Russian bots that were interfering in elections. The fact that we just are like, yeah, that happened. Like, we know it happened. It's not even a crazy conspiracy. It literally happened. We've moved on from that too quickly, frankly. I think we should talk about it more. So yeah, bots. Hopefully not monkeys, though. By the way, I really don't like the monkeys. Oh my god. Guys, monkeys are... this is the whole thing. I don't like monkeys. They're so scary. I hate those... what are they? Capuchins? I know that there's that shot at the end, and it's supposed to be cute, of like Crypto playing with the monkeys because they've been released. They're just so freaky. I hated it. I literally seeing that in theaters, especially the first time, but the other times I was like prepared, so I just sort of like averted my eyes. I literally like, oh, the monkeys again. Oh, and they're free now. Like, that was almost worse. That's terrible to say. Obviously, I felt bad for the monkeys when they were in their monkey bot state, because clearly they were in distress. That's why they were writing all of those awful things online. # super shit. But arguably they're scarier when they're free. So according to Luthor Corps, the solution to this alien issue is to exterminate the supposed threat. As if extermination isn't like the exact thing that's driving the fear of him in the first place. I think the cognitive dissonance is best reflected through the engineer, Angela, because she, like Lex, has so much fear of the alien that she sacrifices her own humanity. And that's a direct quote. She sacrifices her own humanity to get rid of him. Her hatred of the other made her so far removed from the humanity that she claims to be acting to protect that she literally became what she hated. She gave up her humanity because of her hatred, not because of her love. And the gag is, Superman was never actually even the thing that she hated. I mean, like, he is, but I mean more so she hated him because of the threat that he brought to humanity, except he was never a threat to humanity. So she gave up her own for what? For nothing. And I would argue, and I don't think many would disagree with me, I don't think this is like controversial, but I would argue that the engineer is far more of an alien than Clark ever was or ever could be. The humanity that she sacrificed wasn't just physical with her freaky nanobot body, which by the way, is also a great example of what I mean when I say that I love thoughtfully integrated horror elements into movies, but I don't like scary movies. The freaky saw hands that she makes and like the backflip to standing maneuver that she does at the Fortress of Solitude, and like her freaky computer mainframe, and like the nanobot clown scarf that Superman had to extract from his mouth. That's body horror. And nobody can tell me otherwise. And you know what? I enjoyed it because it wasn't scary. I mean, I didn't enjoy it. Like, I was like, ooh, I didn't like, ooh, it's icky. But I get the point, and I thought it was thoughtfully integrated, and I think it was useful to telling the story because, again, it alienates her, see? From her own humanity. That's not human. That's not human in any way. That shit is alien. Clark is human. He's a normal person. Superman, just like immigrants on a large scale, we're talking the number of people who aren't this way are statistically insignificant. That's how few there are. The overwhelming majority of immigrants isn't here to destroy anybody or hurt anybody. They're just here to carve out a life for themselves and their families, like anybody else. He's trying to add value and provide a service to his community. And so was Molly, the food vendor who rushed to help pick up the Man of Steel when he was down. Molly, who gave him food to say thank you for stopping a pedestrian from being hit by a car. Molly, who bravely used his final moments to thank him for all he's done, encourage him, tell him to keep going. Molly, who was, in Clark's mind, the true hero. And who are the heroes for superheroes to look up to? For most superheroes, I would say Superman, right? He's the hero of heroes. And again, that's because of his kindness and his empathy and his generosity and his inspiring hopefulness and optimism for how things can be, right? But Superman's heroes, when you have nobody else to look up to, you're looking up to the most human among us. Because, like he says, that is our greatest strength. And Molly is the perfect example of how strong and meaningful and valuable that humanity is. Okay, we're gonna get a little bit lighter for a second here. I am so glad that Nicholas Hoult is finally getting his flowers because the girlies have loved him for over a decade, and I feel like this is the first time the men are really witnessing his genius. And as fantastic and evil as his Lex Luthor was, one of the first thoughts that I vocalized to my friend after we saw it for the first time, again, things had not yet sunk in, was how disgusting I felt watching him play a character that is essentially Elon Musk in Jeff Bezos cosplay. And it was still doing it for me. Bald-headed ass in Bill Reeve and all. Do you know how hot you have to be a irredeemable villain who's also bald? And I'm still into it. But actually, let's just address it now because I didn't really know where else to say this. But the movie's cast is just smash after smash after smash after smash. We've got Mrs. Maisel. We've got Laurent from Twilight. We have a literal Victoria's Secret angel. Basically, everybody in this movie is hot as hell. And even the people who aren't, like, hot in a traditional sort of way still get the chance to be hot. Like, do I think that Metamorpho or Guy Gardner are obvious heartthrobs? No. But nonchalantly flipping off Bravian military while you destroy their shit after saving a child's life is sexy. Sorry. Sorry. And so is turning your entire, two arms into an iron hammer that smashes a tank. Sue me. That's hot. But, again, when was the last time you saw the good guys smashing tanks in movies? Tanks that are being used by a U.S. ally against a defenseless nation. That actually might be new. That actually might be the first time that's ever happened in a blockbuster. And if it isn't, please let me know. Please let me know. I want to see what else that happened in. I'm interested. And then there's the Jimmy Olsen of it all, okay? You thought my comic book purchases stopped at Superman? Wrong. I bought Jimmy Olsen comics too. God damn it. I have seen a lot of men online talking about Jimmy because they cannot for the life of them understand why women think Jimmy is hot. Like, I feel like a lot of them actually think that that's the joke, is that he's not hot, and then all of these women find him hot. That's not the joke, and that's also not why it's funny. The joke is that he is hot, but not on purpose. He's not trying to be, and he's got more game than he knows what to do with. I mean, the guy looks like he can do a crazy trick on a trampoline. Skylar DeSondo is about my age. I think he's like a year older than me, and I've had a crush on him since literally Night at the Museum. I also thought he was hot in Booksmart, even though his character is a joke. Like, sue me, I like a rich himbo. God forbid. God forbid. And if you still don't get how he's hot, you should watch The Righteous Gemstones. He plays Gideon, a stuntman in it. Come back to me. Get back to me. Go watch that. Get back to me. Tell me that it's not sexy as fuck to see him saving family members in a monster truck. Try to tell me that's not hot as hell.
Let's see how fast you motherfuckers can run.
But back to Lex. What a perfect depiction of a modern technocratic villain. I really wasn't kidding about the Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos cosplay part. I cannot emphasize to you enough that Lex was the perfect depiction of the deep and profound insecurity that fuels these types of men's endless drive for feeding their own egos. Like, it's not just that they have the desire to be the best, right? Like, they want to have the most money and the best stuff, and they want people to think that they're the coolest and the smartest and all of those things. But what they desire is what they lack, because they can't even be any of those things to themselves. Again, deep insecurity. I don't think Lex got hugged enough as a child, and I don't mean that as a joke. I feel like people often say that as a joke, but I don't mean it as a joke. Like, there is the genuine anguish and embarrassment on display in his final scenes is exactly what he tries to run from every single day. That feeling is what fuels him to do all of the things that he does because he's so afraid of it, and it's going to catch up to him if he doesn't keep running from it.
They mention Galileo or Einstein or one of these other twits in the same breath as me, I feel a tide of vomit burn the back of my throat. But at least Galileo did something. He wasn't some dopey Venusian catapulted onto this planet just to have the world fawn over him, because his strength illuminates how weak we all really are.
He hates Superman because he's jealous, but he's not really jealous of his powers. He is jealous of his powers, but not because he wants them for himself, right? Like, he literally has the money and resources to be able to stand up against Superman. That's how the movie starts, right? Like, he's getting his ass kicked because Lex has unlimited resources to do what he wants and make a pocket universe and clone Superman and all of these things, right? But the thing that he's actually jealous of isn't the strength. It's the admiration and respect and love that society affords to him simply because of who he is. Lex thinks that this is because of his circumstantial alien strength, which he never had to do anything to obtain and didn't really have to work for. It's made worse because Lex is smart enough and has the resources to do just as much good when he plays to his own natural strengths. He could have this thing that he so deeply desires. He could be loved and respected by the public if he had ever thought about anyone other than himself. But honestly, the whole thing is really sad. He wasn't shown kindness as a child, and it's like he doesn't realize that it can be given freely. His whole life has been transactional. So the idea that Superman is kind just to be kind, that he isn't there to take something from them, he isn't there for his own personal gain, is something so foreign to Lex he can't even comprehend it. Like, that has literally never occurred to him that is a possibility. Everything in his life is transactional, and it always has been. And because of this, it always will be. And honestly, it's, like, really pitiful. It's pitiful, and then the fact that it's so, like, ooh, that's embarrassing for you. That just, like, perpetuates the cycle. Because they can feel the pity, right? Like, they're well aware of it, and that just makes them feel even smaller and more insecure. And because they feel that way, therefore they are. And then that makes them lash out more which makes them more pitiful. And so it's just this sort of like endless feedback loop of like they feel smaller and smaller and smaller. Lex knows enough about Superman and his character and his ability to like see through people, not literally, although also literally, but he knows that Superman is like aware of this, and the fact that he is kind enough and genuinely wants more for him. Like at the end of his speech, I hope you realize it's your greatest strength too. Like even after all of this, he still can't like hate him. He still wants better for him because he thinks that he deserves it. That makes it worse for him, actually. He's like, oh, I wish you just hated me. Hating me would be better. But no, you don't even hate me. You feel bad for me. The cinematography in that scene, and when Lex is like, he sees himself being taken down by the media now, and he just gets, so small. The way that they use the camera in that moment, where the shot that we have on Lex is slightly looking downwards as he's just like about to lose it, and then we look at Superman and he's like up here and taller and bigger and looking down on him. It's like Superman is the immovable object that is just constantly blocking Lex's force that he's so desperately trying to make unstoppable and failing every time. Like, he wants it to be immovable object, unstoppable force. It's just immovable object and a guy trying to move him out of the way. Lex makes his own pocket universe to imprison those who threaten his power, right? Whether that's seizing bodily control of his enemies or harnessing his ex-girlfriend blogger who's threatening his image, it's a physical manifestation of all of his insecurities that are neatly stacked into these clear glass boxes for us to gaze at. He has curated a museum of his own shame, and even there, he can't control it. It's not like Lex isn't aware of the role that he plays in his own suffering, but it's like, instead of just looking at it and realizing that it doesn't have to happen, he mythologizes it, right? He says to Superman, my envy is a calling. It's a mission. It's the sole hope for humanity because it's what's driven me to annihilating you. It's interesting because a lot of Superman media, I feel like Superman is kind of like this godlike figure. He's basically impossible to beat. It's actually really difficult, I've seen, for people to write enemies for Superman because he has all the power and all the strength and all of the things. Like, he is essentially a god among men. So I find it really interesting then to like frame Lex's desire to take him out, to bring down this god as like a calling for him. And all of those, his 1A, 1A, 1A. Honestly, guys, it feels suggestively orgasmic.
1A!
He's getting off on tearing down his enemy, but also like the way that it's delivered, it feels like he's getting off on taking down his enemy. Which is actually an interesting thing that a lot of fanfic explores. Oh, also, by the way, I've been on AO3. It's fine. I feel like this is something that fanfic explores, but I do kind of hope it's like explored a little bit as the franchise goes on. But like the obsession that Lex has with Superman, it's obsession. It's obsession. And you know how obsession can kind of get sexual? I feel like Lex, how can you be so obsessed with somebody and obsessed by how incredible he is and everybody just loves him and they think that he's so handsome and he could have this harem and I could never have a harem and so I'm so angry about that and blah. You think he's hot. It's okay, buddy. Me too. Me fucking too. But anyways, the fact that all of this like shame that he carries and control that he desires was thematically unfolded for us through depictions of an offshore private prison taking in foreign prisoners and political dissenters under shady circumstances and lawful loopholes turned out to be more relevant than I think James Gunn could have possibly intended. Actually, yikes. I think the best throwaway line in the movie that really gives an idea of like the world and the type of conversation that's happening around metahumans is when Superman turns himself in, he's getting police brutality for no reason, and he asks why he hasn't been read his rights. And the guy is like, actually, the courts ruled that you don't have rights. the courts ruled. So that means there was a case that was brought for one reason or another that went up through the court system and decided that actually aliens don't have citizenship and don't deserve rights. That could be a whole thing unto itself. It is difficult enough to like maneuver through a world if you happen to be stateless, because that does happen, right? People end up not being a citizen of anywhere. But Superman isn't even just stateless. He's literally planetless. Like, there is nowhere on Earth that he's from except for Kansas. And yet he's not a US citizen, according to the courts. And I know that, I haven't seen the episode personally, but I do know that Smallville tackles this conversation in an interesting way. When police come looking for a person, you know, who isn't a citizen, and Ma Kent, which, not my Ma Kent, not my Ma Kent, okay, Smallville's Ma Kent is like, well, he should do it the right way. And Soups is like, dude, I'm literally an illegal alien. Literally an illegal alien. You guys falsified my documents. like the hypocrisy. I love that they tackled that, though. Like, that's really important commentary. And frankly, it's a conversation we need to keep having. So I hope that it wasn't a throwaway line. I hope that it comes up again. Okay, let's talk about one of the big pieces of the superhero genre is the saving, right? Who needs saving and who is answering the call? Superman spends the first half of the movie just getting his ass handed to him over and over. And I think I've told you guys this before, but reaction videos are like my guilty pleasure content for hyperfixations, as well as like my long-term comfort media. The second that Superman hit streaming, they started rolling out reactions. This was like 2 weeks ago now. I feel like most of them have popped up in the last week or so, though. Because also, it went to streaming so early. Frankly, I don't think it should even be on streaming yet, but I guess I'm glad it is, because where else am I going to get the clips to add into this? Because I do have spots where I've written in notes to put in certain clips. Also, I need to think about how I'm going to get that footage anyways, because I kind of don't want to pay $30 for the movie when I've already pre-ordered the Blu-ray. Because I did. I came home from seeing it for the second time and immediately pre-ordered the Blu-ray. But the reactions that people have had to this particular aspect of the story, the fact that we start out with Superman losing a fight and then it's just kind of L after L after L for the next hour or so, the reactions to that have been very all over the place from different fans. Again, I am in no way an expert here. I don't know how he's portrayed across the wide litany of universes, but I personally think that a key point of his character in media that I've seen is that while, yes, he is essentially a god who has all the powers and theoretically could be anyone and everyone, the ethos behind his actions and the desire to minimize harm means that he's always holding back. He never actually really goes to that full godlike potential. The thing is, Lex does have a point in that regard. He's not right, but he has a point, okay? Because if he wanted to, Kal-El could in fact do the thing that he was sent here to do. Like, straight up, strength and power wise, he could take over the world and he could serve as a supreme leader. He could also easily build a harem. I would be first in line. I would be first in line. The fact that the movie kept going back to the harem part and everybody was like appalled, I'm like, I know there is a group of women who's very excited and they're wondering how they can get in on it. I know, because it's me. It's me. I want to get in on it. He is one of, if not the single most powerful being in the world. But he's not the person that he was sent here to be. He's not Kal-El in the way that his parents wanted him to be. He's just Clark.
Your choices, Clark. Your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
I love that this movie is in a constant cycle of subverting expectations about who is saving who and who has the power to save who. Because as anyone would expect, yeah, a fair bit of the movie is dedicated to showing how Superman saves civilians. It wouldn't be Superman if he weren't out here saving civilians. You gotta have that part. But a much more significant part of the movie is dedicated to all of the people who are saving Superman. And I think that's more important and that's more interesting to dive into, because we got Molly, Lois, Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, even Crypto, all are taking turns helping him escape harm's way, or at the very least, helping him help the people that he can't on his own, in the case of like Guy and Hawk Girl. Gotta say, love Hawk Girl as a character, but God, I hate her name. It is so difficult to say. Those glottal stop consonants, it sounds like I'm saying Hot Girl. You couldn't even tell. Which one did I say there? Did I say Hot Girl or did I say Hawk Girl? I'm saying two different things, I swear. I'm not saying the same thing twice, but it sure sounds the same, doesn't it? I'm going to talk about Crypto in a moment, but I really appreciate the natural inclusion of animals in general in this movie, because so many times in so many movies we're given like evacuation scenes where these people are trying to get out of a city because of some threat that the protagonist of our movie is trying to stop. And all of those scenes, there are never any pets. It's always just like people and kids, maybe. No pets. This movie took the time to show us dogs and cats and that one sweet older lady with her turtles, which was adorable. I know that, number one, like, James Gunn, Crypto is based off of his dog. Adorable. Love that. Very good bad boy. But I also love Gunn has spoken about the moment where Superman saves the squirrel. Apparently the test audiences hated this, so much so that they actually took it out, but then in the cut where it wasn't there, James Gunn missed it so much that he actually couldn't live without it and just put it back in. He was like, screw you guys, you're wrong. Fuck a test audience. And honestly, I wish more directors would stand up to their test audiences. I think they're important, but I also think they can be wrong. And I think actually a lot of the time they are wrong. And people should stick to their vision. Because Superman saving the squirrel is like the epitome of Superman. Like, he sees all living beings as worthy of life and therefore worthy of protection. The big thing that a lot of people in the reaction videos keep calling a kaiju, they all just know that's what it is. And I was like, oh, new vocab word for me. I don't know shit, you guys. Actually, still couldn't tell you how to spell it. Didn't even look it up. I don't know if that's like, tell me in the comments, is a kaiju that specific animal? Or is it just like the word for a thing that grows big when it gets resources? Is a kaiju just basically a gremlin? Let me know in the comments. Also obsessed with the like little news shot where it's like metahumans kill thing. So fucking funny. Anyway, the point that I was getting at, he was hoping to relocate it or at least put it down less painfully. Now again, he is a farm boy, so I'm actually 100% sure that the man has had to put animals down before. That's a part of living on a farm. That's a part of life. And to be clear, I don't mean put down in the same way that, you know, we put down our cats or our dogs when their time comes. I mean, put down in a farm type of way, which is sad. It is sad. It's really hard to do. And it's also necessary sometimes. And sometimes it's the kindest thing to do, in the same way that it can be, often is the kindest thing to do when your elderly pet is in pain or getting towards their end. Superman has this idea, even for this big thing that's causing inconvenience, that's putting people at harm. And he feels that way because he saved the squirrel. It's all things, all people, all life is deserving of kindness and care and respect and empathy. That's who Superman is. To quote Temple Grandin, an autistic hero of mine, and also somebody I think Superman would really admire, nature is cruel, but we don't have to be.
Crypto! What the hey, dude?
And speaking of being a farm boy, I knew the second that we met Crypto, there was no way that was his dog. Again, farm boy. If Clark had a dog, it would be a well-trained working dog, not a literal heel nipper. Crypto, I love Crypto. He's a great character. Wonderful, adorable, love him. He's not a good dog. He has behavioral issues.
Okay, well, this is why he has behavioral issues.
Behavioral issues that Clark would not have ever stood for, okay? So it was almost like a little bit of a spoiler. I already felt it in my bones, and then when you said, not really, it's more of a foster situation, I was like, okay, so it really is not his dog. That said, making Crypto such a big... Oh, also, I forgot to show you guys. I do have a little illustration of Crypto. That said, I actually think making Crypto such a big part of the story was a genius play on James Gunn's part for a number of reasons, right? Number one, he's cute and people like dogs. That's automatically going to make people invested in your story. You make them like a dog. The dog is in harm's way. People are worried about the dog. People cares about what happens in your movie. That on its own, genius, okay? Number two, again, the way that Clark treats animals is like the essence of Superman. Okay, I love seeing him interact with the dogs in this movie, the squirrels. Again, not one, two comic books where he's holding a cat on the cover, okay?
Whoa, whoa, no, no, Crypto, faster than squash a baby.
Loved seeing that, but also having Crypto there as like an agent of chaos just added a level of unpredictability to moments that might have otherwise felt predictable. Because again, this is a superhero story. Someone is in danger, hero is there, hero fights danger, everybody's okay, right? That's the cycle that we go through, and that cycle does play out a few times in this movie. That's like every big confrontation. But Crypto being added in there, was he going to help or was he going to make things worse? That was a genuine question you were asking every single time he was involved. He was equally helpful and unhelpful. Like sometimes he caused the problems, other times he solved them. Like you can't trust him with the Kent's cows because he might kill them. But you can trust him to, disable Luthor's cameras that he has to control Ultraman and then force Ultraman into a fair fight so he actually can beat him, right? Like you can't trust Crypto not to gorge himself in the pet store that he broke into and like destroy Mr. Terrific's T-spheres. But you can trust him to beat up Lex Luthor in the really throw him around, hopefully give him a concussion in the process.
Crypto, get the toy.
But back to like who needs saving and who's doing the saving. Metamorpho and Mr. Terrific aren't surprising to like step into a helpful role since they are both fellow metahumans and this is a superhero movie. That said, it is refreshing to see Mr. Terrific's attitude about it because personally I relate to him on a deep level. The way that like he's there to help. He wants to help, he's gonna help, but he's gonna be really mad and annoyed about it in the process. And that so me. That is so me. It's the fact that he's mad about it on principle. And I really relate to that because I'm a person of principle and I feel like Mr. Terrific is too. He is just... The idea that Lex is employing such high intellect to do such dumb things pisses him off. Because nobody can deny the fact Lex is incredibly intelligent, right? Mr. Terrific, incredibly intelligent. He knows that Lex is on good footing to understand how to do all of these things. But it's the fact that he's using that intellect to be fucking stupid and to endanger everybody. Like, we wouldn't have the problems if you didn't cause them. Stop causing them, you fucking idiot. And even worse, like, don't use your super smarts to be... It feels significant, though, that never once in this movie is Lois portrayed as a damsel in distress, right? She's the one saving Superman. She's not getting saved by Superman. If anything, she's a damsel causing distress, and I mean that as a compliment. Mr. Terrific wouldn't have been there to open the portal that allows the gang to escape if not for Lois appealing for help on Clark's behalf. And by the gang, I do, of course, mean
Superman, the mean dog in a cape, a weird baby, and a squiggle man.
What?
And then there's Eve. And I will admit, on the first watch, that first view of her just taking selfies in front of Superman getting his ass beat, it got a laugh for me. It did, because it was just so silly. It also made me cringe just a little bit because I was afraid that she was just going to become like dumb comedic relief And I thought that that was going to be the entire point of her character, because we've definitely seen that before, and it's not uncommon. It just isn't uncommon to put a woman in that role and have her be like the silly, vapid, dumb, social media obsessed, attention obsessed person, right? And I'm not even like hating on that character, because frankly, people like that exist. Like I'm not saying that that's not like a reasonable thing to portray, because there are people like that. Dumb woman unknowingly embarrassing herself is a trope that I do feel like we've seen too often, wherein the butt of the joke is the woman herself. But no, once again, expectations subverted. The butt of the joke is us. It's us, because we assumed out of the gate that she's too much of a bimbo to be in any way smart or strategic. Like, the audience is Warren, and Eve is Elle, what? Like, it's hard woods. Now, is Eve a little crazy? Yeah. She is a lot. I will say she is a lot. But that doesn't have anything to do with her intelligence. Like, she is well aware that Lex is not a good guy, and equally well aware that there's not going to be an easy way to leave that relationship. She is literally, on-screen confirmed, a victim of domestic abuse.
Eve! Get out of here, you idiot! Go! Move!
And she has been paving a way for her own escape for who knows how long now. It's not even that she's just used to people underestimating her. She's literally counting on it. She is counting on people underestimating her, because that's what's gonna allow her to get out of there. Now, I gotta say, I have complicated feelings about Jimmy in this movie. As previously mentioned, love Skylar. Love Skylar. I also love the friendship between Jimmy and Clark being so easily established despite their criminal lack of screen time together, by the way. Full disclosure though, I would say like 90% of my criticisms with this movie really just comes down to there should have been more movie. And I do think that we needed more time with Clark as Clark, because we really only got like the one scene. Just to jump in and clarify here, when I say that there was only the one scene with Clark Kent, I am referring specifically to the character of Clark Kent, the reporter, that Clark the Man plays, similar to the way that Clark the Man plays the character of Superman. And yes, both of them are also Clark the Man, but they're also Clark and Superman the characters, you know? So I feel like we did not get enough time with reporter Clark Kent, and I missed out on that, because again, that's part of why I love Superman 2 so much. So Jimmy, his line deliveries are hilarious, particularly in the alleyway scene, but I think his character suffers a bit from the poor ratio of like how much screen time he's given, where he's treating Eve as nothing but a pawn for information, and how little screen time he's given to show that he's grown and learned from his mistake. Like, because he has, to be clear, I really truly think he has, because the way that he smiles at the end when Eve comes running, and the height difference is so funny. She's like this giant woman hanging on to him. So he's like hugging her, he's like, oh. But then he smiles. He smiles at the end. And I just wish, at the very least, that they had held onto that shot for longer, because I do feel like he's learned. The smile shows that he's learned and grown, but it's such a short moment that if you literally blink, you will miss it. And I've seen so many people reacting to the movies missing it entirely, and that is a disservice to Jimmy's character, because I think if you just look at the other stuff in the movie, Jimmy's kind of a dick. And I like Jimmy, but I don't want him to be a dick. So I don't think he's going to be in future movies. I think this is just like part of the process of establishing who he is, and his thought processes, and giving him a chance to grow. Like, that's what we want. We don't want him to be perfect out of the gate. We want everybody to have the chance to learn and grow. That's what makes stories interesting. I just wish there was a little bit more. All right, guys, it is tinfoil hat time though, because my hot take is I low-key feel like Jimmy already knows that Clark is Superman and just chooses to mind his own business. And hear me out, okay? This is explicitly the case in your homework, My Adventures with Superman, but there's also evidence in the movie too, so I'm going to present that to you now. And full disclosure, obviously, this could totally not be true, and I could be looking into it too much. I don't know shit. I don't know shit. I've told you that from the beginning. This is just my opinions. Although we don't get to see it for long on screen, the movie does make a strong effort to convey the closeness of the trio. The way the three of them are messing around with each other and playfully debating in the first scene at the Daily Planet, it makes it clear this is a regular occurrence. Like, he's literally on the phone with his mom, and Jimmy's like slapping it around, like, yeah, but so clearly they're close. Like, they've tried to establish that, even though, again, we don't get much of it on screen. And that's, again, one of my criticisms. I wanted trio time, and we didn't really get much. And although you could chalk up that familiarity to just, like, simply being coworkers, Lois and Jimmy explicitly say that they love each other. like out loud.
I love you, Jimmy Olsen. I love you.
Love you.
And the way that it's said so casually and like with such familiarity, like he doesn't even bat an eye. He's not even looking at her. Yeah, I love you. That makes me believe them. Like, have you ever loved a coworker who wasn't also your good friend? Like, even if the friendship just started because you're coworkers, are you just gonna say I love you to your coworker if they're not your friend? I don't think so. And then also at the end, when the rift has been closed and they're like all celebrating in the tea craft, again, Lois and Jimmy, big hug, kiss on the cheek, like they're close, okay? Next piece of evidence, Jimmy is connected. His game means that he's familiar with a lot of women who know a lot of things, even outside of Eve. Kat Grant is a known gossip, and the fact that her and Lois are friendly in this universe and that she knew she was dating somebody, it's gonna get back to him. It's people in the office, if a woman in the office knows that Lois is dating some guy, Jimmy's gonna know that Lois is dating some guy, even if Lois doesn't tell him. And then once again, because Jimmy has game, he can read game, right? He's very attuned with the way that women feel about him and about like men, right? He knows when they desire him, and he also knows Lois well enough to know that she would never show it in the same way that a lot of other women do. But he can still read a vibe. And just like Clark explicitly tells Lois in her kitchen, Jimmy was eating it up, the banter that they had going about Superman. And then at the very end, when they're like, how long has Superman and Lois been looking up? About 3 months, I think. I feel like Jimmy knows, and he's just really chill about it. He's just like, not really my business right now. Not my problem, not my concern. And I love him for that, actually. Now, different aspect here. Even though in the movie they're clearly good buddies, Jimmy and Clark, at no point through the whole movie does he ever reach out to Clark while they're working on the Superman story. Despite knowing that Clark is very familiar with him and gets a lot of interviews with him. Never once asks where he is, doesn't seem particularly concerned that he's disappeared, and doesn't ever return as Clark Kent on screen. Seriously, I cannot emphasize the criminal lack of Clark Kent. It was just the one scene. It was only one scene. That's not enough scenes. But yeah, no, Clark just disappears. Jimmy's not concerned about it. He's not asking him for any interview. Did you get a hold of Superman? Nope. No questions. Personally, if my work friend went disappearing at the exact same time as Superman after he's, had like a decent relationship with Superman and consistently is able to get exclusive interviews with him, I think I may be questioning, if not his identity, at the very least his safety. Personally. Maybe that's just me. But either way, I don't think he's going to need to be told. I think if he doesn't know already, he's going to figure it out on his own. But I really truly think he knows already. Not to bring the vibe down, but we're gonna get serious now. Christopher Reeve, his Superman, famously tells Lois Lane,
There must be a reason for you to be here.
Yes, I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
You're gonna end up fighting every elected official in this country.
That was the official motto for a while, and then I believe more recently it was changed to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, which, A, better slogan overall. And also B, who says that a better tomorrow can't be the American way? If you are not from the US, I need you to listen to me closely, because I'm saying this so earnestly, I'm trying to convey it to you. You actually don't need to inform us of what a shithole our country has become since it's been commandeered by MAGA. Trust me, we are well aware. Frankly, we are much more aware of it than you will ever be, and I'm sorry if you disagree with that statement. You can argue with the wall. Again, my whole thing is about cultural geography. I'm from the place. This is my cultural geography. If you're not American, you're just never going to understand it to the level that we are. Even if you understand it in different ways, and that's cool, and that's a valuable perspective. But you don't need to tell us that things are going to shit. We're well fucking aware. You're reading about it, we're living it, you know? We have the cultural context to understand the intricacies and the nuances of it and the ways that it is so deeply entrenched in our culture and systemically supported. Honestly, a lot of it can just be traced back to Protestantism, but that's a whole other, that's a video unto itself. As a whole, we are not proud of the moves that our country has been making as we have literally slipped into a fascist regime. Actually, now that I think about it, I do think that's one thing that liberals and conservatives can all agree on. Lex Luthor sucks, and also things aren't going great. But being ashamed of the actions of our politicians and of our government doesn't mean that we hate our country. And even when we do hate our country, it doesn't mean that we don't also love it. Because our country isn't just our government, it's also our people and the cultural values that our people hold. Am I ashamed and embarrassed of everything that's been going on over here? Yeah, obviously. I think you're a crazy person if you aren't, right? But I also see evidence every single day that that's not who we are as a people. The government is not its people. And the American people and the overarching values that we hold, those are something to be proud of. I know that Superman generally gets kind of clowned on for being like corny, right? Like he's just big blue Boy Scout and all of that stuff. But he's the American hero that we really needed. He's somebody that we can actually look to for hope. Again, no shade to the Snyder versus Superman, Man of Steel, whatever. But very stoic, right? Very like dark and doesn't lean into the human side of his emotions. This version of Superman makes me feel hopeful. Every single time I'm walking out of that movie, I feel hopeful for the future and hopeful of who we can be and hopeful for tomorrow. Do you know how long it's been since we have felt that as a culture? It's been years. I would honestly, since Trump won the first time. I talk about this in the context of the Hunger Games a lot, right? Like hope is a necessary form of rebellion. It's radical when you can lean into it. It's the thing that gives us power and gives us the spark and keeps the flame going to make change. We need hope if we want things to get better. And if we as a culture haven't felt it in so long, how can we fix anything? How can we mobilize people? How can we, turn these feelings into actions if we don't think that the actions can go anywhere, if we can't imagine a world that's better than what it is? This version of Superman represents the principles that our culture holds when we're at our absolute best. It's kindness and empathy and a desire to help our fellow man and dog and squirrel. And the thing is, if it were just that would be one thing, but it's not just that. It's even better than just that, because as optimistic as it is, it's also realistic. He also acts as a proxy for all of the ways that we feel about the situation that we're in. We feel betrayed by our own people. We feel disenchanted by what we thought we were supposed to be versus who we've been set up to be. We feel abandoned by the people in power whose job it is to care about us and foster environments where our society can thrive. And they are the ones creating the system that failed us. They're the ones that are encouraging this division and this hatred and this, taking each other down to push our own agenda and our own needs and make sure we end up on top. I know a lot of people have a lot of feelings about actually making his parents be colonizers. I don't think this movie would have worked as well if that weren't the aspect, because it's so easy, I think, for Superman to just become American propaganda. It would fall a little bit flat, because I don't think any of us can just be patriotic right now. Yes, that's what he was set up to do and who he was set up to be, but he chose to do better. And that's who we have been set up to be, and we can choose to be better. And that is a radical thing to be putting out into the world on such a large scale with such a big audience and a big platform and a big hero. like you can, like, just, I'm getting emotional thinking about it, to be honest. Like, it's what we needed. It's what we needed, and it's when we needed it. I actually think the score is what best reflects this paradigm. I am a big movie score person. I always have been. The one for this movie was so good. John Murphy and David Fleming really did their big one with this. I do hope that it gets nominated for the Oscars. The original score was by John Williams, obviously an iconic piece of American fanfare alongside Star Wars and, of course, Indiana Jones, which David Cornsweet, his alarm every morning is the Indiana Jones theme, and that is so funny to me. But where the original score had the cadence and like the orchestral tone of a military parade, what Murphy and Fleming have done is they've taken the original musical motifs, those melodies, and then brought them into the modern sentiment. It's the classic melodies, but with dissonance, right? Like it's the main theme, but with this bittersweetness that just sits underneath. It's triumphant, but it also is a little bit sad, and it recognizes all of the things that we've lost along the way. The movie lets us celebrate our strengths, even as we mourn our struggles. The music literally sounds like a reflection of what we can be, what we should be, and who we are now. We're so far from perfect. We are. But most of us are trying. Most of us wake up every day, and like Superman, we try to make the best choices that we can. And we fail all the time. But there is still tomorrow, and we will keep on trying. To me, the main theme of the 2025 Superman sounds like a sunset, where the 1978 version of the same theme, the same melody, sounds like a parade. When you think about it, like, we only go to the trouble to organize and attend parades if we're celebrating something. And like, sure, in the past, there was a genuine pride in like being American and what that meant and what we stood for. And I do want to note also that the original score was written only a year after the bicentennial, like 1976. They were celebrating the bicentennial of the US. And there was like a lot of stuff, like a celebration of that, including like a train that went around and all of this stuff. So that was like very much on the forefront of people's minds. And also thinking about it in itself, that could also be the basis of like why Superman was brought to screen in the first place, even subconsciously on the part of the writers. That doesn't seem far-fetched, actually. But back to my analogy. When you sit outside and you really truly enjoy a great sunset, that's a celebration unto its own. You are celebrating making it through another day. Whether you're having the best day of your life or the worst day of your life, both of those days feel worthy and equally deserving of a good sunset at the end of them. Because either you had a great day and this is a great way to end it, or you had a terrible day and at least it's over. It has been a long time since the US has felt like it's had a good day. Like, we are the citizens of Metropolis, and we have a bunch of Lex Luthors tearing our universe apart. And in most ways that matter, there's not really much that we can do about it in the short term other than to survive it. And like, yeah, sometimes we're really stupid. Like in the scene with the kaiju, right? Like, we're all just kind of looking at it instead of moving ourselves out of danger. We watch it and we just assume, oh, he'll save us if he gets close. Like, it's fine. And yeah, that's bad and we should work on that. But when it comes to like actually solving the big problems, we don't have the super strength, or we also don't know how pocket universes work, and we can't fly, and we're not exactly goddamn Mr. Terrific. The only way that we can truly help that situation is by helping each other and staying out of harm's way in the meantime. It feels in its own way like a version of We're Here Because We're Here. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, soldiers fighting in the trenches during World War I began singing We're Here Because We're Here, because we're here, because we're here, to the tune of Auld Lang Syne, which is the song that we sing on New Year's. Now, if you haven't before, I highly recommend either reading or listening to John Green's essay about this song and life and friendship and a lot of things, also titled We're Here Because We're Here. He has a video of it. There's a podcast episode where he reads it on the Anthropocene Reviewed. You can read the text version on the website, like it's available for free up. But for now, I'm going to quote two small pieces of it to make my point. I think Auld Lang Syne is popular in Hollywood, not just because it's in the public domain and therefore cheap, but also because it's the rare song that is genuinely wistful. It acknowledges human longing without romanticizing it, and it captures how each new year is a product of all the old ones. When I sing Auld Lang Syne on New Year's Eve, I forget the words, like everyone does, until I get to the fourth verse, which I do have memorized. We two have paddled in the stream from morning sun till dine, but seas between us broad have roared since Auld Lang Syne. And I think about the many broad seas that have roared between me and the past. Seas of neglect, seas of time, seas of death. I'll never speak again to many of the people who loved me into this moment, just as you will never speak to many of the people who loved you into your now. And so we raise a glass to them, and hope that perhaps somewhere they are raising a glass to us. In her strange and beautiful interactive memoir, textbook Amy Krauss Rosenthal, Amy wrote, "If one is generously contracted 80 years, that amounts to 29,220 days on Earth. Playing that out, how many times then do I really get to look at a tree? 12,395? There has to be an exact number. Let's just say it is 12,395. Absolutely, that's a lot. But it's not infinite, and anything less than infinite seems too measly a number and is not satisfactory." In her writing, Amy often sought to reconcile the infinite nature of consciousness and love and yearning with the finite nature of the universe and all that inhabits it. Towards the end of textbook, she wrote a multiple-choice question. In the alley, there is a bright pink flower peeking out through the asphalt. A. It looks like futility. B. It looks like hope. For me, at least, Auld Lang Syne captures exactly what it feels like to see a bright pink flower peeking out through the asphalt, and how it feels to know that you have 12,395 times to look at a tree. And then later in the essay, he goes on to say, although she was a playful and optimistic writer, Amy was not deluded about the nature of suffering or about its centrality in human life. Her work, whether a picture book or memoir, always finds a way to acknowledge misery without giving into it. One of the last lines she ever wrote was, "Death may be knocking on my door, but I'm not getting out of this glorious bath to answer it." In her public appearances, Amy would sometimes use that recursive lament of British soldiers and transform it without ever changing the tune or the words. She would ask an audience to sing that song with her. We're here because we're here, because we're here, because we're here. And although it is, of course, a profoundly nihilistic song written about the modernist hell of repetition, singing that song with Amy, I could always see the hope in it. It became a statement that we are here, meaning that we are together and not alone. And it's also a statement that we are, that we exist, and it's a statement that we are here, that a series of astonishing unlikelihoods have made us possible, and here possible. We might never know why we are here, but we can still proclaim and hope that we are here. I don't think such hope is foolish or idealistic or misguided. I believe that hope is, for lack of a better word, true. And the music from this movie opens that same feeling inside of me. It sounds like a sunset that we are all watching together. It also looks in the movie like a sunset that we're all watching together, and is also literally a sunset on a set that we are all watching together. The last, tiny little piece, it switches again. And it stops sounding like a sunset. And for the last few moments, it starts sounding like dawn. start sounding like a better tomorrow. We're here because we're here. And no matter where you are, I think here, your here, my here, is worth investing in. And Superman reminds us that our duty, the way that we can invest in that, is to show up even when we don't know what to do, to help people even when it's not convenient, and to see the best in people when we can, and search for the potential when we can't. And like Superman says at the end of Superman 2, which is an excellent movie and you should watch it, and you should tell me what you think about it in the comments because I'm obsessed.
Sorry I've been away so long. I won't let you down again.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had so much fun making it. Before we go, I'm going to go through some of my favorite things just that didn't fit anywhere else in this that I loved about the movie. Number one, the argument scene. Oh, I was on the edge of my seat. Best scene in the movie. So freaking good. Their chemistry was off the charts, both while they were making out and also while they were fighting. It truly felt like a real couple's argument. And it also was like such an explicit discussion of the themes, which is really what we need right now, frankly, with the way media literacy and also just normal literacy is going. But I think the part that made it so brilliant is that they're both right. Like, the argument was frustrating because there isn't a clear side, because they are both right. Clark was right to save those people because people were going to die, and Baravia should not just be invading Jarheim. Like, he's right. And Lois is also right when she says that you didn't consider the geopolitics of it all, and you're now acting as a representative of the US and, you know, doing things against our allies, and that has consequences. Both of those things are true. And it's not like she didn't think, I feel like a lot of people are interpreting it as she doesn't think he should have saved people. Not her point. She also wants to save people, but being a little bit more strategic about it. Oh, also, how can I talk about this scene without, super shit? Come on, Lois, you know that one specifically irritates me. So funny. Anyways, that was brilliant. The alleyway scene, I already kind of talked about it, but so fucking funny. Skylar Sandoz, his delivery, he has 3 lines that like really make me laugh, and it's the way that they're all delivered so differently. Okay, the first one, it's when she's like, so we can be together? And he's like, yeah. Hilarious, okay? And then they're like, he kind of gets riled up. She's like, but blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so you have unconventional toes, it's fine, but there are many other things that might be attractive about you. And she goes, Lex tortured a dog today. Jesus Christ! That delivery, also fucking hilarious. And then, again, when she's leaving, she's like blowing him kisses. And
I'm putting them in my pocket.
Love Ma and Pa Kent. Vocal stem of the month is Pa says, don't be a stranger. Another one of my vocal stems of the month, when the Justice Gang is fighting the Thing, and Guy is like, I made giant oven mitts. And Hot Girl goes,
Good for you, asshole! I'm getting bleached to death!
That one has been on repeat. And then the other one the other stem that I've had is when he's like flying up into space with the nanobots all over him. And Lex is like, catch up with him. And she goes, we're trying! Okay, I think the rest of these are I'm just talking about really funny lines. When Guy is like, he's of the cloth, and then gestures to himself. There's also a couple of really funny lines from Lex's ensemble, namely when they release the Thing and he goes, it'll get bigger. Funny. But then also when Crypto is taking out the cameras during the big boss fight.
No! Bravo down! Bravo down! I just said that, Harry!
Has no right being that funny. Also Steve on the phone begging his presumably ex-girlfriend to let him talk to their cat, Persephone. Yes, she will care. Cats can recognize the sound of your voice. So funny, but also, yeah, that would be me. I would also be freaking out and like shaking as I'm trying to drink my Alka-Seltzer or whatever. And also, where did he get a glass of water and Alka-Seltzer in the hover? Now that I think about it, that's not adding up. But it is funny, and it is a great way to show that Hot Girl did in fact kill the Netanyahu stand-in, whose name I still don't know, and frankly, I think it's fine. It's pretty obvious who he was meant to be. Also, so many of Mr. Terrific's lines. He was such a standout in the movie. And then I think one of Clark's funniest deliveries, or Superman, whatever, is when he just popped his shoulder out and got rid of Ultraman. And then Mr. Terrific is like, stop messing around. We got stuff to do. He's like, I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff. As he like rolls away. So funny. And then, of course, the iconic, thanks for watching him, bitch. Yeah, I do believe those two are cousins, actually. That is incredibly realistic family energy. Also, something that stuck out to me and something that I really appreciated was the amount of swearing there is in this movie. Like, I feel like there's a lot of swearing compared to most PG-13 movies and also, like, superhero movies in general. Like, it was probably pushing the limit for that PG-13 rating, and I loved it because so much swearing from the other characters makes Clark's intentional non-swearing stick out so much more than it otherwise would have, and it just makes him extra endearing and adorable and Superman-y and Small Billy and all of that stuff. I mean, the first thing we hear when he heals is, golly, what the hey, dude? Like, good stuff. And then last thing, I want to sing the praises of two aspects of the 2025 movie that I just didn't get to initially, which are the practical effects and the practical sets. Because that's something that really has made the original Superman movies stand the test of time, right? Practical effects are always going to look good for the most part. I mean, obviously, we've made the flying a little better for sure. But for so long, they had really gone all the way to the other end of the spectrum, right? Like everything was just VFX. And VFX are very valuable, but I think what we're realizing now is that the real answer is to lean on practical and use the VFX when we really have to, which is also, you know, the same reason that a lot of the movies from the 90s hold up. Like Jurassic Park still looks insane. And yeah, there are some VFX in there, but they only used it when strictly necessary because they absolutely could not find a practical solution. And so I really respect James Gunn, you know, making use of practical effects and practical sets as much as he possibly could. And even in the moments where it's like the sets aren't real locations, like in Lex's control center room, I don't even know what we want to call that. But like, even in those moments where that can't be like a real location, they were still using volume sets, which is like, that's the new big thing, right? That's the future. And they've been using that technology for a few years now. But I'm really excited to see where they take it. But all of the on-location sets were gorgeous. I mean, the bullpen at the Daily Planet, that was a real location. The Hall of Justice, not only the real location, but also the real location that the Hall of Justice was based on in the original comics. Oh my gosh, that building at the end where they have their kiss, I don't know if it's a mall or what it is, but all the ironwork and the glass ceiling, like, gorgeous, beautiful location. Somebody let me know where that is, and whether it's a mall, because it is a beautiful place. I know they filmed in, I want to say Cleveland, and maybe just Cleveland, maybe also Cincinnati. I don't remember. I know Cleveland for sure. But you guys have some beautiful architecture there. Gotta give you credit. Also, briefly talking about the costumes, I loved Superman's costume. I love the trunks. I think it needs the trunks. Sorry again to the Snyderverse, but it looks goofy without the trunks, if you ask me, which I know is like the exact opposite opinion that many people hold, where they think it looks goofier with the trunks. But without the trunks, it's too blue. It's just too blue. And Man of Steel, man, I keep talking a lot of shit about Man of Steel for somebody who hasn't seen Man of Steel in years. But like, I feel like the colors in that are already so desaturated, and then you add in the lack of trunks and the navy blue suit, like the dark blue suit, and it's just too blue. It's too blue. But the costumes in 2025 were so good across the board. Even the extras costumes, I love this sort of like retro vibe that they went with. Lots of 60s and 70s inspired fashion and silhouettes and colors. But it didn't feel like it was trying to be in the 70s, though. It very much felt like 2025 does 1960s and 70s, and I mean that in a good way, not in a costumey way, not in a spirit Halloween way, you know what I mean? Also, Lois's outfit that she wears with the wide leg pants and the t-shirt and her little vest, number one, I wear that exact outfit basically all of fall. In fact, I should have worn it to make this update. That's gender, personally. That outfit is my gender, actually. And then again, sort of regarding the content and who the villains are and what you're fighting, I saw something after I recorded the initial one that really resonated with me, that I just wanted to shoehorn in here somewhere, which is that somebody had said that what makes Superman special and different than a lot of heroes is the fact that his greatest, like his best villains are not so much these like huge unstoppable forces, but rather the minutia of everyday life. The fact that he has this secret identity and he switches between the two, and he's still like, as Clark as a man is still trying to live a normal life through Clark as a reporter. Superman isn't just like a big blue Boy Scout, okay? He's a big blue public servant. like he is, in all intents and purposes, for the most part, a glorified firefighter / first respondent. And I mean that as a compliment, because it once I heard that and I reframed it in my mind, I'm like, no, actually, it does make sense. Like, his job as Superman is basically like a huge step up, but still, for all intents and purposes, a public servant. He is a glorified firefighter. He's a glorified EMS respondent. And like, that's his, just because he has powers and just because, you know, he can stand up to bigger threats and he can do things that otherwise aren't possible for the average human, it doesn't mean that his job is all that different, and he still has the same stressors as like the normal person with a job like that. So again, I have consumed so much Superman media, including the first 2 Christopher Reeve movies. Now I will say, I don't think I'm gonna watch 3 and 4. Number one, because they seem to just get worse and worse reviews after the fact, but I also know that Lois isn't really in them because of like politics that was happening on set, and just generally I'm like not super interested in those, particularly immediately after Superman 2. You're not gonna top Superman 2. That's a perfect movie, no notes. Now, Superman 1, it was fun. I had a good time. It wasn't like moving for me. It wasn't like as groundbreaking as Superman 2025 for me, okay? And part of this is surely because I didn't grow up on it and this was my first time watching it.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't, but if I did, Miss Lane, you'd be the first to know about it.
How old are you?
Over 21.
Oh, I get it. You don't want anyone to know how. Okay. And how big are you? How tall are you?
About 6'4".
It was just a great vibe. Like, I loved the costumes. A lot of the dialogue was fun and very earnest. I think it started out slow. There were parts where I kind of got lost and I wasn't like too invested at any point, but it was just a good vibe. It was funny, had a nice time. Also, sorry, it's pretty sexy for your sort of not really boyfriend to like run so fast around the world. He literally reverses time so he can stop you from getting killed in a car accident. That's hot. That's hot, and I'll give him that. So it was like a fun movie, but it wasn't like groundbreaking for me. So I watched it, and then I waited maybe like a week or whatever. And then I watched Superman 2 the other night. Perfect movie, no notes. Superman 2 is to Superman 1 what Catching Fire is to the Hunger Games. That movie has everything.
talking primarily about the sleeping arrangements.
Mr. Smith?
Uh-huh.
The complimentary couch.
Right. What?
It's so fucking good. Oh my god, it was so funny too. Also, funniest line in the whole movie. I know that Superman was originally created by two Jewish men, right? So I'm glad I knew that, because when Superman saves the little boy from falling into Niagara Falls, but there's just a voice in the background after he saves this kid, and she goes,
What a nice man! This is Jewish.
it had me cackling. It was so good. So fucking good. And low-key, I would kind of love an interpretation of Superman where he grows up Jewish too. Like, he's still in Kansas and everything, but like, I think that would be cool. A cool way to give some additional like context and culture in the future, like in different interpretations. But it's not going to happen with this one, probably. And that's fine, but I just think that's something that would be great to explore in the future if it hasn't already. And if it has, I would love if somebody points me in that direction, because I would like to see it. Superman 1, in most ways, is like better, right? Like, it has a much more focused and tight storyline. There aren't as many plot holes in it. It has a better focus overall. The effects were a lot better. All of those practical effects were incredible. And even though they do still have a decent amount of practical effects in the second one, I definitely feel like some of that bigger budget went to early computer effects, which made the effects worse overall, because even though they put the computer effects in 1980, need I say more? I do feel like a lot of the acting performances were better in Superman 1. That said, I think Superman 2 is significantly funnier and overall just like delighted me more, and therefore I liked it more. The reason that I say I like Superman 2 significantly more is because I liked it significantly more, not because it is the better movie, okay? I think it is generally more entertaining. It has larger portions of the movie are dedicated to the parts that I think are the most enjoyable. So like Superman and Lois just sort of being domestic and silly. I think the comedy in Superman 2 resonates more with me. I was laughing most of the movie. And I will say too, I know that some of the parts that are funny aren't necessarily meant to get a laugh. But I still feel like it's different than a lot of movies that are like so bad that they're good. I don't feel like when I'm laughing at the parts that maybe weren't meant to get a laugh, that I'm disrespecting the movie in any way. I feel like the movie itself, like as a thing, has enough of a sense of humor that it doesn't mind that I'm laughing at the serious parts. Does that even make sense? That said, Superman 1 definitely drags at points. I feel like it starts out really slow and it kind of lost me for a little bit there. And by the time I was like sucked back in, that's why I felt like I was like a little bit lost and I didn't really know what was going on. But I want to make it so clear, even though I didn't really know exactly what was going on, I didn't really care because I was having a good time still. so like it all worked out, because the parts of Superman 1 that do shine, really shine, and most of those are just the scenes between Superman and Lois. The dialogue in that movie and the scenes between those two are so good. So good. I was kicking my feet. I was blushing. Their chemistry is insane. And that's why I like Superman 2 so much, because we get even more of that, except instead of it being focused on Superman and Lois, it has a significantly heavier focus on Clark and Lois. And Clark as a character is developed more. And it's focused more on the man as opposed to the hero. And I personally am more emotionally invested in that. I also just love the sheer volume of minor speaking roles in both of these movies. With the way that the entertainment industry is today, I feel like everything has grown so plot focused. We have trimmed all of the fat off of the meat and there's just nothing left to chew on, really. Like, TV shows don't have filler episodes anymore. Movies are getting longer, but they're just using that to pack in plot as opposed to giving us moments to breathe and enjoy things simply for the sake of enjoyment. And I feel like both of these movies give us the opportunity to do that. Like in Superman 2, when we're doing our big final boss fight with Zod, so much of that fight is just dedicated to us watching how the citizens are reacting and the things that they're saying. And it's funny. It's funny and it's enjoyable, and it's not something we get the luxury of indulging in very often anymore. And so I found that really charming. Now, Superman 2, does the plot make sense? No, not really. Are there tons of plot holes? Yeah. Do I care? Not one bit. I don't care, actually. I am not watching Superman 2 for like a groundbreaking storytelling, okay? I'm watching it for pure entertainment, and entertainment it's full of, okay? It is so funny. It is so enjoyable. It's corny. It's cheesy. It's silly. And I think that has its place, and its place is in my heart. Okay, this was so fun. Thank you again for joining me. Please be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts on the new movie. I want to hear your thoughts on Superman 2. I want to hear your thoughts on My Adventures with Superman on HBO Max, Season 3 coming soon. I will promote it for you, HBO. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Also, still campaigning for Regal Cinemas. You guys should really sponsor me. I'm literally giving you free advertising right now. Anyways, we got Superman stuff. There will be stickers of this. The zines are already in the shop, whatever. Thanks so much for hanging out. This was really fun. Couldn't focus on literally anything else in my life until I did it, so you know how it is. I never know how to end these, but thank you to all of my patrons and my subscribers and all of the new people watching this, and let's all geek out in the comments like we are 7-year-old boys with Superman underwear. Okay, bye!